Before we begin, a quick content warning. This episode contains discussion of self-harm, eating disorders, and suicidal thoughts. Please take care while listening. Hey everyone, welcome to the Zesty Social Podcast of Orange Coast Magazine. I'm Chelsea Ranieri, and today's guest is a film photographer who captures the raw, unfiltered beauty of adolescence, subculture, and everyday life in Southern California. Her acclaimed book, What She Said, blends her teenage diary entries with striking portraits taking over 2 decades, and she's now featured in the 2025 California Biennial of UC Irvine, Langson, Orange County Museum of Art. Thank you so much for being here to Deanna Templeton. I have done this. I'm going to just say this. I've done this intro 3 times now. We nailed it the first time. I'm just going to keep that one in. Poor Deanna is having to re-listen to me do this.
No.
So thank you so much for being here.
Hello.
Officially. Well, I just have to say, I had so much fun getting to research your life and your career. I grew up in Huntington, and getting to see your work actually in person at the museum was absolutely incredible. I think, like, for me, I kind of forgot how tumultuous being a teen is. And then reading your diary entries, like the frustration with parents and feeling misunderstood, and then navigating friendships, and even some of the darker thoughts of what if I wasn't here, was all very relatable. And I very much appreciated the humor throughout it too. There's like, you're so upset with your dad and you're so angry. And then the next day you're like, he apologized, whatever. And I was like, oh, that put me right back into being a teen. And just that roller coaster was really challenging.
Yes. I mean, that's what, like, when I tell people about it, it was so dramatic. I was so dramatic. It's like,
I think anyone is.
Yeah. Just, I mean, the littlest thing could just send you overboard. But then you realize, it's like you flip, something great happens, and it's like, it's just, I mean, hormones, I would imagine, which I think one of the weirdest things about having this body of work come out now. I mean, the book came out a couple of years ago, and I didn't really notice it yet. But now, like the last year and a half, I'm going through menopause. So again, the hormones, and it's just so funny because, like, it's like, oh my gosh, it's full circle. It's just crazy.
I thought we were out of the woods with that.
Well, I think it's, obviously it's different. My husband's grandmother said she had no symptoms, no anything, which is like, you're so lucky, and I have other women where it's been harder to navigate or whatnot. To be honest, I feel pretty blessed from what I have heard of other people's stories, but still.
Yeah. No, I also appreciate you talking about menopause, because I think it's really under talked about with women. So I appreciate hearing that. But that's so funny. Like, I feel like the teens, even a little bit lingers into the 20s, but I'm 33. And I feel like once you hit your 30s, it really calms down. And I just look back and I think, why did I feel that way? Why did I react that way? It was just, everything felt like so much. And now I guess for menopause, I'll probably be the same way.
Yes. But hopefully for a shorter time, though. I mean, I hear some women, sometimes their symptoms last 10 years, a decade. And I'm like, oh my gosh, please, not me. But yeah, I mean, the teenage years, it was just, everything just seemed, I don't want to discredit my feelings, but it was just, everything was so intense, and you just felt everything so, it was like times 100. And looking like how you were saying, like how you were able to find humor, that's what I was kind of hoping for. Because when I first reread my journal entries, which was probably like 20, 25 years after I wrote them, I did not remember how much pain and how much I hated myself. Like it kind of caught me off guard, like, because I'm in such a better place. Like you said, the 30s, definitely for me, the 40s, like the older I've gotten, the more secure. I mean, there's still insecurities, you have doubts, but overall, I feel way more positive, about myself, which is huge. You got to like yourself first before anyone else can like you. But it was, yeah, I was really caught off guard. And then probably after the second or third time I reread my journal entries, I was able to laugh at myself. And that's what I just kind of, I needed to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know where my old diaries are now. I really want to find them, but my closest way I can find those old things are Facebook posts, and they're just awful. I look back and I'm like, why did I think that was funny? So there's humor in that, but it's also embarrassing.
Well, crazy, like you were saying, like you made it as Facebook posts. Like when I was a kid, obviously we didn't have that, so it really was to the pen and paper, to express ourselves, because I just didn't have the vocal, the words to express, how I was feeling. It was all internalized. So the only way to like kind of get it out in a sense was just to write it down and let it live there, on papers, hoping no one else, would obviously see it. But also maybe I did, because, I don't know if you have to put warnings on this talk, but, there was some self-harm involved when I was younger. And that, as an adult now, I do realize that was my way of, without using my words, like, hey, there's something wrong here. I need help. That was the way I was trying to communicate. And unfortunately, I think my parents growing up in the 50s, which I don't blame them. I have no, we were all trying to navigate this new thing. They didn't have the words on how to deal with this either.
I completely understand that. And it's interesting that you said the writing, using writing as an outlet, because when I started therapy in my 20s, my therapist said the same thing: write it down. And I don't know what that does physically, something about it, getting it out mentally, then you can kind of let it be for a little bit. But it does work.
Yeah, it's fun. I think, gosh, I did go to a therapist when I was younger, but she didn't have me. Maybe she knew. Maybe we did talk about that. I kept a diary, so she didn't press that anymore. But I kind of feel like that's sometimes, like, just with friendships. Like, one thing that I've learned as I've gotten older, when a friend has a problem, it's not always they need an answer or a fix. They just need to say it out loud. They just need to put it out there. So sometimes, like, you just need to, all someone might need from you is just to listen.
That's so true. And I have to remind my husband about that too. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not looking for a solution. I just need you to hear me.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned in another article that your mom gave you a camera as a kind of welcome home gift. And I thought this was really interesting. So can you talk a bit about that day?
Yes, I can. Not preaching for other people to do this. When I was a younger teenager, I had a best friend who had a not ideal home life, or at least, so she thought, and she really wanted to run away. And I didn't want her to run away by herself. So I didn't run away because of what was going on in my life. I ran away just because I thought, like, oh my gosh, she told me, it's like, you can't do this alone. And so we ran away for one night overnight, and it was a terrible night. We had nowhere to go. We walked around all night, and then we found a patch of grass on a sidewalk in front of someone's house in another suburban tract. And we just kind of sat there, and some young men offered us to come stay in their van if we wanted to sleep. And we were just like, that doesn't sound right. Like we didn't, I don't know what words we used, but we just knew, like, this doesn't feel right. No, we don't want to do that. So we just ended up staying up all night on a patch of grass, just kind of talking under the stars. I think just discussing, like, kind of hearing her out, like what was going on. And then early the next morning, I just knew this wasn't what I should have been doing. And so I went to, I found a payphone, and called home for someone to come pick me up, and my brother answered the phone, and he just said, like, Dad's been out all night looking for you. Mom's upset. Like, where are you? I'll come get you. We found a home, a friend's home where my friend was able to go stay at so she could sort out what was going on. And when my brother brought me home, like, no one yelled at me. It was more of like crying and hugging. And then I went to sleep. And then later on that day, they took me out shopping, and my mom bought me a Canon T90. And the way I registered it was like a welcome home gift. Like again, we just didn't know how to discuss things. We didn't know how to talk. Like I know there was really no discussion of why. At least I can't remember if there was a discussion of why we left. Like, I might have just said quickly, like, it wasn't you guys. I just didn't want her going off alone. But I know there wasn't a long discussion about it. Like any really getting into, like, you shouldn't do that or.
Yeah, no, well, why did you choose the camera? Like, what were, like, I guess, what were there options, or were you like, I know that I want a camera?
You know what? It just might have been, okay, to back it up a little bit. I had another girlfriend who was a photographer who would go out, and we would go to concerts, and she would document concerts that we would go to. And then in high school, like, I don't even know if they offer darkroom classes anymore, but at Ocean View High School, we had a darkroom class, or a photography class, that offered darkroom labs. And I wasn't enrolled in it, but my friend was. And so I went with her one day to see, like, okay, what have you been doing? Like, I see you going to shoot. And when I saw her film come to life as an image in the darkroom, I just thought, like, wow, like, I want to do this. I want to partake in this. I want to make images. I want to shoot the bands as well. So fast forward, like, I want a camera. I want a camera. I just kind of threw it out there to my parents. My dad worked at McDonnell Douglas. And back in the day, they had this company auxiliary store where I don't know if it was money taken out of their checks or something, but somehow there would be credits. So we could go there and shop. And yeah. And so we went to the store, which was on the McDonnell Douglas campus here in Huntington Beach as well. And I think they only had a few options of cameras to choose from. So it wasn't necessarily like I heard about the Canon A1090. It was just, this was one of the cameras that they had. And so my mom also kind of had like if it's the best, if it costs the most, it must be the best. So that might have been why they also chose, like, this is the one for her. But again, it was way too much camera for a teenager. I barely used it. It got stolen out of my luggage not too much longer. It was, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I was so. I went to go visit. I'm half Mexican and Puerto Rican and German, French, and Italian, but I went to visit family in Guadalajara, and I didn't realize when I flew back, I packed my camera in my checked-in luggage. So when I arrived at LAX, it wasn't there.
So someone went through your bag in the, geez.
Yeah, which I think used to happen a lot back in the day. Like now, we all have locks on our luggage and stuff, but
yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're talking, like, I'm 56, so this was 40. Yeah, about 40 years ago. So,
yeah. Oh, it's awful. What a horrible feeling. That's so funny, though. You mentioned that darkroom. I took a photo class at Huntington Beach High School.
Okay.
That's where I met my husband. But
oh my God.
It's it's challenging. I could not roll the film for the life of me. And I was like, it's pitch black in here. How are you supposed to see anything?
Yeah.
And then developing it's a challenge. But I loved it when it came out well, but it's hard.
Well, that's funny. When I ended up taking photo class, the first roll of film I needed to develop a couple weeks beforehand, I shot a friend of mine who unfortunately passed away. And I didn't have the lid on tight enough I destroyed, I fogged the film. And after that, we take our film to get developed at a lab. We do have a dark room here at our house. So we do print our own photos for black and white, but we don't develop our own film. Like, I don't trust myself.
Oh, that's so awful that you lost those photos. Okay, but I read that music also played a big role in your life, and that you used to go take the money that your parents gave to you for dinner to go to concerts, which is very cool. What role did it play in your life?
Well, it helped me to connect to people. I don't want to say outcasts. I think that the first thing that music did for me, and especially seeing live music, was part of my, some of the diary journal entries that I shared were, again, about kind of like self-hate and having an eating disorder. I had the outlook that women were supposed to be tall, thin, perfect, look like models. That's what I wanted. That's what I was trying to achieve. That's what I wanted it to be. Like, I don't know if you read how I had like a little wall dedicated to supermodels when I was a teenager. Like, I'd rip out their images, made like a little shrine, and that was like kind of like my vision board. Like, that's what I wanted to be. And I think once I hit like 14, 15 and noticed, I wasn't getting any taller. Zits were forming. I thought my weight wasn't good enough from what I was seeing, in advertisements and in these magazines. I started getting really hard on myself. But then music, once I found music, and especially different female singers or female bands, and I thought, like, okay, these aren't the, like the typical, what's been, shown to me like through Vogue and whatnot, like what the ideal beauty is. I found beauty in these other women. Like, I thought, like, well, these girls look cool too, like it just opened my eyes up to just different ideas, different thoughts of what beauty is, what maybe your thoughts are like, because some of the music, obviously, I was able to relate to because of, the personal struggles I was having. And it was like, again, sharing music or blasting music from my room was able to put that, because I couldn't verbalize what I was going through. Like, hopefully they'll hear it through the music, But it really, I think the most positive thing was like seeing Annabella from Bow Wow Wow or Susie Sue from the Banshees or Bananarama. It was just like, I thought those girls looked cool too. And that was a lot more achievable to me than, unfortunately, what the I just not going to be a supermodel at 5'2".
That's so beautiful. And that's funny that you mentioned that, because I did that same thing. And I growing up in the 2000s, I feel like every generation has that beauty ideal told to them in a different way. Like, the Victoria's Secret fashion show was like huge growing up. And just, I had those models on my mirror and stuff like that. Like, the mirror's so mean. I'm like, why did I do that to myself? But it's crazy how everyone idealizes that. But that's so amazing that you were able to find beauty in other role models too.
Yeah. Thank goodness. I mean, yeah, it really meant a lot. And then it also helped a little bit later in my mid to late 20s. My first trip to New York for an art show for my husband, we had a friend who did the, I think the invites for an Anasu show. And I was scared because it was like, whoa, I'm actually going to see supermodels in the flesh and blood. But it was such a pleasant surprise. It's like, yes, of course they were still beautiful, but they had flaws too. Like, I saw a girl, like with, this hanging and, a little flapping. And it was like, they're not perfect. Like, you see them in person, they're not perfect. They're beautiful, but they're not perfect. It's just, every girl needs to see that.
Agree. Yeah, I've seen Instagram accounts where they show the actual like skin texture of people on the red carpet, and you're like, oh, they look just like everybody else.
Yes, and it's nice. I mean, I've known some actresses have, made it a point to show before and afters, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. Well, you mentioned your husband, Ed, who we've also had on this podcast, but he gave you a Canon A1. So how did that moment shift things for you artistically?
Kind of more like, well, okay, before he gave me a Canon A1, on my 21st birthday, my parents got me, like after they bought me the big camera and I lost it, then I kind of like moved away from photography because I met a boy and, life just was consumed by other things. And then on my 21st birthday, they bought me a point and shoot. And I was using that a lot for, shooting photos. And Ed thought I had a good eye, and he's like, you know what, you should kind of step it up a notch. Like, let's get you, not that there's anything wrong with point and shoots, but, something a little bit like really learn how to work a camera. Like, let's do, let's try this. And I think it was just his confidence and him saying that he saw something in what I was getting. Just, again, I was younger, so I still needed some validation. I think that's what, giving me the Canon A1 was kind of like validation, like you can do this, like you are a photographer, like let's, keep exploring this. So just kind of opened the doors and giving me some confidence in what I was doing.
Yeah. And so a point and shoot, I'm assuming is just like simple, like you just take a picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, still film, but it might have been a Yashica something, but yeah, a film camera, but just, you don't have to focus. You don't have to set up anything. It's just point and shoot.
Yeah. Yes. That's what
you got to frame it. I mean, if you care. And I think that's what it was. Like some people, you could just willy nilly, point and shoot and still get blurry photos. But, if you're looking through and you're trying to frame the image, and I think that's what he saw, like you're framing, you have an eye for what you're seeing and what you want to document. Let's take it up a notch to, a different camera.
Yeah. And then you also have photographed people in Russia, Europe, and Australia, in addition to the US. So how have those experiences influenced your understanding of youth culture and the way you approach photographing it?
Well, it's a little bit harder because of the language barrier. And I shoot a lot in Japan as well, which it's just a little bit harder. But I do feel like, okay, for Russia, for instance, I think when we went there in 2007, I don't know if many Americans have come over at that point, or maybe American skaters, because I was on a skateboard trip. But I felt like the kids there really appreciated being photographed, or wanted to participate. Like there really wasn't any hesitance or whatnot. I think it was exciting. And but for the rest of Europe, I don't know, maybe kids just, again, maybe they're just feeling over being seen, at least when I shoot their photos that I don't know. I know.
Interesting.
One thing that I've noticed with the What She Said project was how you said you related. I do feel like the youth, we're all kind of the same. I mean, even if there's restrictions in other countries of what you can and can't do or say or whatnot, I feel like it is very universal. I think of just being a teenager, one thing I thought was I was thinking like this project relates mostly to women when I first started it. But the second time I showed just a small body of work in Paris at Perry Photo is I had more men come up to me saying that even though it wasn't their story, it was they still had their struggles and were able to relate. Like I had teachers, male teachers, I had just regular men photographers. And I kind of feel like, again, with the youth and even with my travel, that I think our slight differences, but I think, as trying to find our own voices and, test the boundaries of what we can and can't do is kind of universal. And yeah.
Yeah. I love that too. I like that, to know that you're not alone, but you feel so isolated when you're going through it.
Well, which is what I've heard feedback. Like the feedback from the book and the show has been overwhelmingly, like, so many people I have talked to have felt that way, either didn't keep their diaries or, like you said, want to go back now and reflect to see, like, what did they actually wrote. But it's just, it is I think by putting this out there was a way for me to let people know that you're not alone,
Yeah. Have you had teenage girls come up to you and say like this, like, do they recognize that it's not so isolating?
The first show I did here in LA about 10 years ago, I can't remember the date. It was way before the book came out. When I first did the show, I had women from 15 to 77 at the show come up saying that they're going through it now. They went through it. Nothing's changed, which was kind of sad to hear from the older women. But yeah, I've DMs from teenagers. I've had from parents DMing me saying that they bought the book for their child, bought the book so they could help understand what their child's going through. For anyone who was able to get the book, because it's sold out, and unfortunately right now the publisher isn't republishing it. But
Oh no.
I know I'm hoping things will change. But anyway, for people who have the book or people who have seen the show, it was really embarrassing. What I wrote is embarrassing, but I just knew from the first person who commented back saying thank you, it's like it was worth it, because it was just, I mean, not to keep talking, because I feel like I'm talking way too much.
No.
The whole point of when I first saved the journals, I wasn't really thinking about it. I had to move out of my parents' house because, I was moving in with my boyfriend, Ed, we were getting married. And so I just kind of like put everything in a box, put it away in a shelf, didn't think about it, didn't look at it. 20 something years later, I found it, sat down with it, was reading through it. Like I said, it caught me off guard. I did not remember how hard I was on myself. I cried the first time rereading it. Then, like I said, 2-3 times later, I was able to laugh at myself. And I thought for a moment that if we were going to have kids, that if they went through something like I did, that I could share with them. I've been there. You'll get through this. Like, what you're feeling is yours, but I do get it. I do understand. Not to get into a sad story. We're okay with this. I can't have children. And I still thought, what, there's something here. I still feel like there's some, to share this. And then years later, when I started looking at my photographs, which when I take photos, like you said, I still take film photos. When I get my proof sheets back, which is like a sheet of what I shot on the roll, I scan them into my computer, and then I have little folders that have different titles of like women, Orange County, males, dogs, words, whatever. Just, I kind of separate these little images and put them in different folders. And when I came across, every now and then I'll relook at a folder just to kind of see, reacquaint myself with my work. And when I was looking through the folder named females, something hit me, like a lot of these women, like the reason why I shot them is either because they reminded me of myself when I was their age, or how I wish I could have been. And then I've always appreciated art and text, mostly like paintings and text, or, like Barbara Kruger, or not Barbara Kruger. Okay, Barbara Kruger's a photographer I really like, but just different photographers that use text with their photography. And I've always wanted to find a way to do that with my work. And when I was looking at these photos, it just hit me like a bulb went off. That's what kind of brought on what she said.
I love that. So how did you decide what photos to pair with what diary entries? And I feel like it must have been really vulnerable to be like, okay, I'm going to put this diary entry into the world.
Yes. Well, first off, anything that was too, it's all personal, but some of the writings were harder than others. And those I left, like in the book form, they didn't have an image next to them. Be it, again, I don't know if some of my writings were, like I said, I had a suicide note, I had my will. And so those I didn't put next to an image, because one thing, I can't control how people actually read the book or read the show. I could only try to put out there that these are my words and these are images of young women that reminded me of myself. But just in case anyone tried to link the two, that this is what this young person was saying, I made sure anything too difficult didn't have an image next to it. And so I kind of let the lighter text go next to an image. If it was like on the medium route, like if I was being kind of hard on myself, that I picked a text that, or an image that was more of a detail shot, not, a face. Because again, I was trying hard not to put words into these girls' mouths, just in case someone read this wrong.
Right.
So yeah, and then most of the girls too, I got to know either by multiple shooting of them. Some are friends of friends. So some of the girls I got to know a little bit better.
Oh,
And yeah, I tried to get approval from everyone in the book, but some images are like 20 years old. I tried sharing them on Instagram before the book came out to see like if anyone, like a friend of a friend, knew, which it did happen. So I was able to, get a lot of contacts through people to like, hey, I'm doing this book now. Because another thing, when I first started shooting, I didn't know, you just shoot out of instinct.
yeah.
And it wasn't probably until a few years before the book came out that I knew this was something now I'm working for. So then I was able to explain to the young women who I would, meet on the street, what I'm working on might be a possibility, to use your photo for this book, and then we can exchange information and I can send them the images to see like, hey, is this okay? But for the really early photos, it was just hard. It was, like I said, I tried, to see like if anyone, but
yeah, no, that'd be really hard. But I love that you like made that effort with Instagram to find them. But also how flattering and how cool to have your portrait chosen to be part of that body of work.
That was a lot of comments, which was nice. Like a lot of the young women came to the opening at ACMA. Yeah, which I was able to share like them then and now. And that's what, I had one girl cry, which was so sweet because, she was going through such a hard time when I took the photos, which I wasn't even aware of. But now it makes me feel like why I felt so much more of a kinship with these young women. It was like, wow, it's like, it's just, I felt you.
Yeah.
It almost giving me goosebumps. It was so special to me for the women that were able to come out and just seeing how their lives have, how they've grown, like one young woman, has just been celebrating sobriety, which has been great. Another one went into the healthcare profession. It was just like,
That's
I
incredible.
was proud of you girls. So I knew this is why I wanted to be you girls when I was your age.
Well, since you mentioned that, in another article, you've said that a lot of these girls gave you hope and reminded someone of who you would have wanted to be friends with when you were younger. So how do these portraits change the way that you see your younger self?
I don't know if they changed the way I see my younger self, because I was who I was when I was younger. I was insecure. Self-deprecating. I was just a horrible person to myself. These younger girls, I mean, okay, or how I wish I could have. Okay, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I wish I wouldn't have been so hard on myself. I wish I would have had the confidence that I felt like some of these young women exude in the images. One young girl that I didn't end up using her photo, but she did an Instagram post, which was incredible, calling out people. Like, she was calling out friends for stop being so hard on themselves. And it was like, I never, I wasn't thinking about other people when I was younger. It was just all about how much I hated myself. I mean, maybe jealousy, I guess that was, obviously I was jealous, but it was just this young girl recognized, and it was beautiful. Like, I saved her Instagram post because it was just, wow. I just wish I had that when I was younger. And unfortunately, it took me till I was not even in my 30s, more my 40s to feel the way I feel like some of these young women are.
God, that's incredible. The self-awareness that girl has to recognize that. Well, at the UC Irvine Langson Orange County Museum of Art, California Biennial, such a mouthful. Over 40 of your What She Said portraits are being shown through January 4th, and this will come out December 18th. So what does it mean to you to have this body of work recognized in that way?
Going from someone who also, I was and still am slightly shy. I work better one-on-one or small groups, but to have your work recognized and appreciated, and to have the feedback, most importantly, it's not the feedback like, that's a great photo. The feedback that has come back, that I don't feel alone, I feel seen, I feel heard, that has meant the world to me. That has made everything that I have put into this and out there worth it. Every little cringe thing that I shared, it's to have the platform to share this. I went from wanting to just share this with, if I had my own child, but now sharing it with other children, other adults that maybe have not come to not grips, but to like realize, like, you're okay to, we're all striving to be okay. We are okay, like, you're going to be okay.
Yeah. And I think it's important too to like look back at how far you've come, because I think it's so easy to just get caught up in where you are now and thinking about like what you want next, but to see like as a teenager, this is all that you would have wanted for yourself then. And then now you're there. I don't know. It's definitely like, I loved going back and like thinking about myself as a teen, even though it was hard, being hurtful looking back at some of those things. But I think it's important to do that.
Yeah. Look, it's sometimes, and I feel kind of silly saying this because I said this at my talk there, but I think for as shy as I was, and also didn't want people looking at me when I was younger because of the zits and the way, my outlook on myself. As an adult, like, I just wanted to know that, or to let people know I was here. And you know what? I matter. And this is what I said: you matter. anyone who's watching or listening to this, we matter,
Yeah.
it, it, yeah, that's just,
It's powerful. It's impactful, and like, it's emotional. It's very moving. So I really appreciate that. And hope the publisher starts making more books, but, 'cause I
me
want one,
too.
but it's,
Not for, like I said, I was just surprised how much people connected and kind of needed to hear this, to hear that we all go through this in some sense, you know, and the most important thing is if you give yourself some time and you give yourself a break, you will get through this, you know? And it's
yeah,
worth it to get through this. It breaks my heart when I hear people who give up. It's like I
yeah,
couldn't even imagine. Like, my life isn't perfect, but I'm so happy to be here. I think some people, when they get older, they feel like, and unfortunately, I feel like it's more women than men, feel like they have to hide their age or whatnot, or maybe not
mhm,
talk about things, which is why I like to share every year on my birthday how old I am, what I'm going through, what struggles, because I am so thankful I am here. I'm so thankful every wrinkle, even though I might complain about it. It's like these wrinkles are because now I smile. I find something to be happy about. It's like, or yes, there's stress, and that might be the grace, but I'd rather be alive and have the stress and not be alive. It's just,
yeah, totally.
anyone
And
listening, hang
also,
on.
yeah, that's why I was like, when I was seeing the exhibit, I was like, oh, I feel like this should be permanent here, because it's like, for girls to come in and see that and then see who you are now, like, so successful and happy and have all these amazing accomplishments. I feel like is so important to see the span of that. So, well, is there anything that you would like listeners to keep an eye out for in 2026?
um, I might be working on a new book.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, but not. I feel like that one. That one was me. This book is more of the last 25 years of street photography in and around Europe and the United Kingdom. So, kind of just
Oh,
showing like I feel like my past books have, you know, I did what she said. I had a book out on nude swimmers called The Swimming Pool. Uh,
loved those.
Thank you. Like a lot of my work has been based. What I've been able to show is on younger people, on youth culture. But the whole time, like as a street photographer, I also have maybe when I was younger, like an old soul, because I really do feel connected and I love older people too, people older than me as well. Like,
Yeah.
I've always used to say, like, I love wrinkles. I love lines on hands because I just feel like it tells a story. There's just so much there. And so right now, kind of working on this book on, 25 years of just documenting and a lot of portraits of just people I've encountered with my travels around Europe and the United Kingdom. And then in the
Oh,
very future, I don't know if Ed spoke about this, but we both have been documenting Huntington Beach for like the last 20 plus years and thought it would be kind of interesting to do a he said, she said volume, like our own, like takes on Huntington Beach, and then maybe do like a slipcase book, 2-volume book together. But that's way more in the future. But
oh my God, that sounds so cool. It's so cool. Like, getting to know like someone who, I don't know, since I grew up there, it's so cool getting to see those photos and like watching it be documented like that. And I want to see the photos from 20 years ago, because like I remember growing up, it was so different back then.
yeah, well, it is. I mean, I feel like I've slowed down shooting around here probably in the last 5 years, and it's changed so much,
So much.
even in the last 5 years. And I feel like I've actually have shot everything I have wanted to here in HB. So I'm pretty good with my body of work. It's just downtown, it's just changed, from
So much.
the surf scene to the punk scene to, um, unfortunately the unhoused scene. And now I feel like it just might be more, because we have a beautiful coastline, it might just be more tourists, which is fine. I'm happy with, it just changes. And I just feel like, I think I'm done shooting here. So now I'm just waiting to present.
Yeah. Totally get that. Well, you've been so generous with your time, especially me doing that intro several times. But before I let you go, I have 3 final questions for you that we call the thoughtful 3. So first, and I'm most excited for this answer, what would you tell your younger self knowing what you know now?
Like kind of already said it, to give myself a break and to not be so hard on myself. And honestly, it's not something to say. I'd give myself a hug, a really tight hug. You're not alone.
I love that. Well, what advice would you give to a young woman who is an aspiring photographer?
Keep shooting. Share your work however you can. I feel like earlier on it was make zines. That's how I started off, was making little zines of my photographs. I feel like now there might be, I know Ed's a part of it. Like outside of Instagram, I think there's other photo sharing sites that are out there that, one could look at. But yeah, somehow just try to get involved with whatever your local scene is. If some bookstores still might take zines like on consignment for a way to share images, but it's really just keep shooting, sharpen your eye, learn what you need to, what you want to do, and just try to go that way. I know when I was working on the swimming pool book, I thought I was done after like 4 years of shooting, and it hit me that what I was looking for actually now expanded, and I needed a few more years. Like you just keep looking at your work and keep shooting.
Wow. After 4 years, I would think so too, but that's incredible to keep going to. And then lastly, what is one habit or routine that has helped you become successful in your career?
It's funny to think of success. I feel like I've had success in life because I've learned to accept myself and to embrace myself and to be kind to myself. But for my career, I don't know.
Well, I would say one thing that I'd love is that you do the daily peer walks. Or you used to?
We used to. We don't really do that anymore. You know what? It's funny. When I'm not trying hard that's a bad way to start that. I feel like things have happened when I've least expected it. Like I've just carried on, to be honest, and this probably doesn't help anyone. I just go out and shoot. Usually have a camera on with me. So wherever I am, usually, try to shoot. Doesn't happen every day. I just keep my head down. If I'm not shooting, like if I haven't shot for a while, then I re-equate myself with my photographs. And then someone will just slide into a DM and offer something. And I know this sounds, I don't want to sound flippant or something, but it's kind of when they say like when you're looking for a mate or a partner, it's like when you kind of like you're trying so hard, and you can't find that person. But once you stop and you're just like, whatever, and you just go on with your life, then something happens. I kind of felt like that's what happened or is happening with me with photography. But I think it's because, but again, if no one sees your work, I guess you just got to keep making work and just figuring out ways to share it. I was very fortunate. These shows came about because this show also was, I think it came about because of the book, and then the book came about because I've already been shooting these photographs. So I was able to put something together to show a publisher, but nothing happens if you don't have the work first.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, just because you have the work doesn't guarantee. I have the work for this, this European book. No guarantee it's going to be published, but I have the work, so I could show it, at least, but
it'll be, I think it'll be published, but I think it'll be appreciated either way.
Well, but it all comes down to you can only have success if you do the work, and you can't really do the work for success. Maybe that works for some people, but if the motivation is for fame and success, you're going to set yourself up most likely for some big disappointment. Like, I don't know if I told you, but when he first started painting, most of his paintings ended up in our closet. He'd make them, put them in the closet. And it wasn't until a friend came over and said, like, dude, you got to share these with people, just even if you have to give them to your friends. And that's what happened. A friend of a friend saw it and introduced him to a gallery curator. So it's like, he wasn't doing it for the fame. He did it because he wanted and needed to paint, so you kind of got to start with your passion for whatever you're doing first.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I 100% agree with that. This came about because I just love getting to tell people stories, and it was just an opportunity that came up, and I was like, I want it. So I totally agree with that.
Well, some people will ask Ed more so, like, dude, how did you get this museum show? Like, I want to do a museum show too. It's like, first of all, gave, like I said, work to friends. Then it went to coffee shops, doing multiple coffee shop shows. Then you do little gallery shows. And, it takes 20 years before you get that museum show sometimes. Maybe there's some breakthrough artists, but it's not, it's make the work, have passion in the work first.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I could talk with you all day. You're so inspiring. I absolutely love everything that you've created. And I'm so grateful that we have this conversation.
Thank you for the opportunity.